Hey, good morning. I'm your friend Scotty Ray. Believe it or not, it is Friday. I heard a rumor that Odie was planning a retirement party for Mitch McConnell at his house tonight. Is that true?
It is.
Like, woo-hoo-hoo. Despite all things being said, he should have been gone, 30 years ago?
Yep.
Yeah, that's our best guess on that. Not a fan favorite of his. Good morning to you. Let's put a smile on his face today, even though we do sometimes have some bad politics that are amongst us. It's going to be a great day. Right now, let me just tell you, it is, you don't want to back away from your heater. It's 22 with a wind chill of 11, and today's high will only reach 45. Tomorrow, possibly getting into the 50s, but we'll still get down to 24 tomorrow night, or 24, 28. We'll look at it in a second. And then by Sunday night, for the first time, I think it could be like 34 for a low. We have had some brutal cold nights over this past week. It's been rough for all of you who have to work outside, those that make a living outside. It's been tough. That wind has been cutting, hasn't it? Good morning, Collinsville. Wayne is up there. Miss Ruth is joining us. Charlotte, Deborah. I see Bob is up. We are so glad that you've joined us. It's going to be Fun Friday as the game will come in at 7 o'clock. We'll have a full-on cast today. It'll be a lot of fun. I hope you'll join us for that. We're going to get into the headlines that are shaping America. What's going on behind the scenes that maybe you don't know? We'll tell you all of that in a moment. Right now, let's go to Collinsville and let's get us a good word for the day. We've got to have us a little Jesus, don't we? Let's do that now with First Baptist.
You know, in this world we live in, there are some natural enemies. They just naturally don't like each other. Like cats and dogs, foxes and rabbits, wolves and deer, coyotes and sheep, snakes and mice, crows and owls. They just naturally don't get along. One is out to get the other, and one avoids the other at all costs. Well, as we turn to today's word of wisdom, we see another set of natural enemies, the righteous and the wicked. We read in Proverbs 29:27, an unjust man is an abomination to the righteous, but the one whose way is straight is an abomination to the wicked. Have you found that to be true? Right? Righteous people can't stand wicked people. Wicked people mistreat others, oppress them. They do whatever it takes to get what they want, and they don't care how it impacts anybody. They blatantly reject God and His ways, and an unjust man is an abomination to a righteous man. But the feeling's mutual. Wicked people can't stand righteous people. They think righteous people are goody-goody and holier than thou. Their very presence shines a light on their sin and brings conviction upon them. They resent God and His standards, so they resent the righteous who follow God and live by His standards. But beloved, realize this. This enmity will not go on forever, because one day God will separate the righteous from the wicked. The righteous, which is every person who will trust in Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior and who are forgiven of their sins, they'll go to God in heaven. And the wicked, every person who dies unforgiven in their sins, will be separated from God and spend forevermore in hell. And then that enmity will be no more. Peace will reign in heaven and on earth. And I long for that day. I mean, don't you? But if you've never turned from sin and trusted in Christ, that day should scare you. I pray you'll trust in Jesus before it's everlastingly too late. Change begins in you.
The Change Begins in You is brought to you in part by Piggly Wiggly of Collinsville, Patrick Allen Companies, Mitchell Tire and Wrecker in Collinsville, and Mowdy Cabinetry. Welcome back. So glad that you joined us. Radar is all clear this morning. Let's take a quick look at radar before we get into headline news as we go over and take a look at Docs. What's all of this blue? Well, that just says you're exactly cold weather advisory through today. That's going to be ending around noon today. But boy, look at that. Everything else is clear, just cold this morning. We'll get into the complete forecast here in just a moment. So what's gone on since we last hooked up? Let's see here. Trump has made the announcement, you probably heard this now, but no more welfare payments for people that are not Americans. If you're not an American citizen, those are being immediately turned off. And I say that as you dig into this across America, there have been politicians who have been telling people how to get into the country illegally and how to fill out paperwork to receive payments from you, the American taxpayer, who gets up and works and supports that. something is wrong, and I think those that do those type things should be held accountable for what they've done. We are billions in debt, if not trillions, over things of that nature there. Let's see here. Boy, there's some panic going on now throughout Washington and areas of the U.S. of A. Pam Bondi, y'all know who I'm talking about? She is saying that she's getting ready to release the names, the list, from Jeffrey Espin and Puff Daddy list. Ooh. That was the guy, if you remember, didn't cameras supposedly go off or something? They didn't want that man to talk at all.
Yeah.
And they said a glitch in the camera system happened. How coincidental. She says it's going to be happening, and she is reviewing the information, and it will be put out. There's a lot of upset people on this right now. They've company credit cards. How many have one? I'm sure there's a few. Yeah. Government credit cards at this point have a spending limit. Right now, it's $1. You ain't doing nothing without approval. They're really cracking down on this. I'm sure that that'll change in a few weeks as they get everybody laid out, because you have to buy things where you work to take care of things. But they will get that straightened out before that's turned back on. Let's see here. Oh, Maine. Anybody watching from the great state of Maine this morning? You're fisting to be without some federal funds. Trump announced that he's signing an executive order. If they do not comply, they will get no more funding until they comply with keeping men out of women's sports. The great state of Maine. Y'all make a note of that and get in touch with your governor. That's going to be turned off. Do y'all remember us talking, what was it, 2 weeks ago? The USS Naval Aircraft Carrier that struck a barge. That thing's nuclear. Mm-hmm. The ship's officer has been relieved of duties. He is no longer in command of that vessel. I sort of saw that coming. They don't play around with that. If you have a boo-boo with your ship with one of those, you're usually out. Someone with more skills, or however you want to say it, takes place. Now, I'm not saying the man was at the bridge when it happened, but those he put in charge were. That makes you responsible. Megyn Kelly torched him last night. I don't know if you saw this, and I'm referring to Tom Hanks. A few of you, I don't watch it. I only see clips online of what happens on Saturday Night Live. I've quit watching it. But apparently Tom Hanks has had this reoccurring role to where he plays a Trump supporter. Anybody, a real redneck guy. It was pretty bad what he did on that last one. I won't even go into it. It's not worth repeating, but shame on you. Megyn Kelly rips him apart last night. What else do we have? Now, this is ridiculous, and I briefly brought up on this yesterday morning, and we have a new guy who's going to be taking over this. I don't know how he will find time, but the guy is ultimately smart, and I'm talking Elon. He's been dubbed, he's put in charge now with the Boeing airplanes, the presidential planes. He's in charge of getting them back on track. They're years overdue. They were supposed to be ready during Biden's administration. And, of course, I'm sure that they didn't push to keep those on track. We'll see. They're going to see what can be cut that the plane doesn't need to get it done. And he said, well, I'm not really. He said, I could buy another plane from someone else. Wake up. Don't think that man won't do it.
Cancel that.
Let's see here. What do we have here? Who is she? The Minnesota Lieutenant Governor officially kicks off her campaign as she gets ready to run for Senate. Good luck to her. Hope that works out for her. I don't know, and I really don't know much about her. Her name is Peggy Flanagan. We'll see. I'm going to read this because I think it's important. Up until we had the announcement of who was going to be Trump's vice president, I'd never really heard of this guy. I know a lot of you watched his television show where he come from absolute poverty in the Kentucky Hills to where he made it to where he is now. And I'm talking about J.D. Vance. He made a statement, and this is really, really worth repeating because America along the line has lost its, and let me just say it, masculinity. to where if you were a guy that wore a cowboy hat, you worked outside with your hands, you were sort of put down. You were nobody, and it wasn't right to tell a joke or do anything. But this is what he had to say. My message to young men is don't allow this broken culture to send you a message that you're a bad person because you're a man, because you like to tell a joke, because you like to have a beer with your friends, or because you're competitive. Our culture wants to turn everybody, whether male or female, into idiots who think the same, talk the same, and act the same. We actually think God made male and female for a purpose, and we want you guys to thrive as young men and as young women, and we're going to help you with our public policy to make possible to do that. And then he said, amen. JD, he's pretty straightforward thinking.
Yeah.
I seem to like him so far. And again, I know a lot of you say, well, in the beginning he wasn't on Trump's side. I don't think he was, but he's made a turnaround, and what he's saying makes a lot of sense. But he said that to the young men of America. And really, you shouldn't be ashamed because you can pick something up. You can change a tire on your own. And you don't wear a man purse. And I know what Odie's thinking to my right. He says it every time. Man bun. He was thinking it.
Oh, it's there.
Scott, and you have to tell me, Scott Bessent, do we know him? Is he a newcomer? He's claiming all the goals in Fort Knox. Another little guy is going to be traveling over there to see. And even, I think Trump is saying that he's going to go to see for himself. Didn't I hear that?
And Elon wants to
live
feed.
I'd love to see that.
Yep.
How many times have we had reporters that go knock on the door and they set up all these interviews and they go, nah, yep, you ain't coming in to look at it. It really does make you think that there's a reason they won't show you. Every time that you get the runaround somewhere, believe me, there is a reason they don't want you to see something or receive a piece of paper.
Yep.
I can't tell you the countless times I've applied for statements, written requests, and never gotten them. There's a reason I don't get them.
Exactly.
What was that song that Earl Thomas Conley had? Where there's smoke, there's fire. Something to that. Let's see here. 101, let me see, let me get this right now. 177 Venezuelan illegal aliens have been transported from Guantanamo Bay to Honduras. They got on an airplane boarded that way. They're headed off to jail. Sort of a holding tank there as they let them board airplanes and go back where they come from. And as we've learned, most likely some Americans that are bad criminals are going to be sent to these foreign jails. It will be a lesson that they never forget. Again, I'm not a big basketball player. I don't know a lot about it, but we send our thoughts out to this young guy, Victor, and I'm going to mess his last name up. I'm going to try to pronounce it correctly. Victor Wembanyama. He plays for the Spurs, and he has a blood clot. So we hope he gets better there. Somebody just entered the studio with a feather on their head.
Lady Peacock.
Was it a peacock? Oh, a lady peacock from Northwood is what we're being told it is. It was kind of like the 1920s when they done the dance. You remember that? The Roaring '20s?
But I hadn't made it yet.
Y'all wait till y'all see this get up. It is Fun Friday. Y'all remember that. We're going to be kicking into this full-fledged here in just a few moments there. There are some strange people in our country. And I wasn't referring to Julia. As we go to our next headline this morning of just say for instance, and seriously with this, if you find that your spouse has cheated on you and you just can no longer, y'all can't work it out, get a divorce. Go your separate ways and let it die there. But a man stabbed his wife 40 times, took a picture and sent it to her lover on Valentine's Day.
Not very nice.
As Greg said, it wasn't nice at all. How horrible to do something like this. But our world is full of people like this. Now, whether or not they have this, they've shown signs all along, I don't know. Is it somebody that snaps for the first time, can't handle it? Love has started many a war and, well, many problems in this life. Men are jealous. I mean, just for the most part.
Hey, women are too.
Are they? Really? You ever had a woman fight over you? Oh, honky tonk, or was it like on a street corner?
Honky tonk.
Okay. Greg, I'm putting you in charge of filming that next time that happens. Two women fighting over Odie.
They were fighting over who takes you take him. No, you take him.
Greg said they were actually fighting over who would take him. No, he's yours. No, I don't want him. We'll be right back with your weather forecast here in just a moment as we'll begin our day. It is Fun Friday. Y'all get ready for all the fun to begin in just a moment. Let's face it, accidents are going to happen. If a deer jumps out in front of your car, go see my friends and professionals at Chet's Paint and Body Shop in Center Hill. Chet can help you navigate through this confusing world of insurance by providing photo estimates to insurance companies and the right to choose the body shop of your choice. From a minor scratch to a major collision, Chet has you covered. Chet offers quality repairs by trained and certified technicians with a lifetime warranty on all repairs. That's Chet's Paint and Body Shop.
We welcome you to a new vehicle buying experience here at Doc's Toyota. Buying a new vehicle doesn't have to be stressful, but don't just take our word for it.
This was the best experience I've ever had buying a vehicle.
Doc's employees are top-notch.
I drove 2 hours, not once, but twice, to purchase 2 vehicles with a 5-month time frame.
Doc's delivers competitive pricing, a comprehensive selection, and flexible financing options, helping you get on the road from Carthage, Meridian, and beyond. There's a reason why there's no deal like a Doc's deal.
Your forecast is brought to you by EMEPA, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
We're already getting the leave that girl alone reports in. People taking up for you already before you even get home. They should, she says. Let's get into our forecast as we go back for our record highs and our record lows. Back in 2018, it was 84. Back in 1958, we had a low of 18 on this day. As we move forward, look at this, 45 for a high. It's still not going to be warm. You add a little wind in with that, and it'll be cutting 43 up near Columbus. As we go east into Bama, 46 at best there in Demopolis. We'll see 45 in Burmaland. Oh, and somewhere around 49 over in Troy and 48 in Auburn, Alabama. As we look for this cold still goes through this morning here. Dangerous. We're sitting at 11 right now with the wind chill. This is what we got, warmer weather approaching. We'll have a change of all of this come next week. As we get into our 7-day forecast, we see 45 today, 25 tonight, and finally, out of the 40s as we'll reach 54 tomorrow. Now, we're not out of the freezing at night. We're down to 28 tomorrow night. We're warming up to 55 on Sunday, and finally, we go across that freezing mark at 33 Sunday night. As we move into Monday, 66, and y'all look at this. Tuesday, Wednesday, 75 degrees is what I see here. Nighttime lows of about 49, higher than the highs that we have during the day right now. By Thursday, somewhere sitting around 67, and as we go further into this, we're going to see somewhere between 65 to 70 for the most part, all the way through the 7th of March. As we move into March, it'll be 71 that day. Man, this weather is up and down, up and down. As we look to our fishing times today, if you're brave enough to go, 11 o'clock is the time to go through about noon. It'd be a good time to fish there, minor time. As we look to sunrise, 6:30 this morning, and sunset will happen around 5:46 this afternoon is what we're showing there. Now, we showed radar a moment ago. Let me back and pull this up where you can see exactly what's happening with radar this morning. Absolutely nothing in the deep south except cold weather as we go around this. Up around Knoxville, Tennessee, we are seeing a little bit of fog in Charleston, those areas of West Virginia a little bit, and more snow as we get into Dayton, Ohio, Cincinnati, those areas around Pittsburgh, Burr, and Burr is what we've got. Look at the outlook of that. Even more snow out in Denver, Colorado. We see a little bit of fog out in Oregon also if you're going to be traveling there. Portland, what a big town that is. Well, the gang's getting ready for the big show. We hope you'll join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're getting coffee ready. We're roughly about 5-6 minutes away from the show kicking off. And feathers galore. She's getting ready. It's purple. purple is the day. Is that like the official Mardi Gras color, purple?
Well, if you can look behind you, and you got the purple, green, and gold. That's the trio. You see that repeated a lot.
She's being a smart aleck, y'all.
Yes, I think she is.
There she is.
Those
Miss Smart
feathers
Aleck.
in her hair does that to her.
We'll be right back. Fun Friday begins. We're waiting for you. Join us at 7 as the Scotty Ray Report kicks off.
The Scotty Ray Report is brought to you by our following partners.